You know what you sound like? You sound like the government. You sound like the government that I'm fighting against because I said so. What am I obstructing?
So I fought back against COVID mandates at my restaurant because I realized early on that these COVID mandates were more about control than they were our health and safety. And that's just by using common sense. I've never been a really big political guy myself. I don't trust politicians from either side of the aisle. I go off of common sense. So that's all I was doing. I said, these don't make any sense. And you're stripping my guests and my employees and myself of our constitutional rights. And I'm not going to be a part of that.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about a story that just doesn't happen in a free country. Okay. However, after COVID, a lot of people realize this country really ain't all that free. Okay. Especially when it comes to our basic rights and freedoms that were infringed upon during the pandemic with the vaccine mandates and the lockdown mandates, orders, right? That has caused a whole lot of economic stress for small business owners. And today we got to talk about a story that is really a nightmare situation for a small business owner by the name of Mr. Matt Strickland, who has a restaurant in Virginia. And his restaurant was recently raided by law enforcement because he refused to comply with COVID mandates. Now, here's the thing. I want to go ahead and show the video of law enforcement raiding the restaurant, and then I want to show Matt Strickland in his side of the story so that you guys get a full understanding of what's going on here, and then we will get into it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll the clip.
And what's the reason? What's the reasoning for you guys coming into my business, confiscating my POS systems, confiscating my alcohol? What's the reason for that?
There is a board order that suspended your license.
Right.
That license is the one that permits you to sell and serve alcohol.
So they revoked my license for not following COVID mandates. So now you guys are coming to confiscate all my stuff for that, right? How do you feel about that?
Yes, sir. Okay. License was revoked.
But how do you feel? How do you feel about coming to shut a man's business down for not following COVID mandates that are unconstitutional? How do you feel about that? How you feel about that, sir? How do you feel about that? Huh? Just doing your job? Just doing your job? That's what they said in Germany too, man. They're just doing their job.
We're not here to discuss whether or not
You're not here to discuss whether or not they're unconstitutional. You're just here to do your job, right? So you're part of the problem, man. I want you to know that. You're part of the problem. 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 Everybody in here, every one of you, man. What's going on in this country right now? The reason that we're in the situation we're in as the United States of America, you're part of the problem, sir. So you can't complain about what the president's doing. You can't complain about the state that the country's in right now. You can't complain about how screwed up it is. You're part of the problem, sir. You're shutting down a man's livelihood for not following COVID mandates that didn't do anything to prevent COVID. And it was actually detrimental to the community. And not just the community, to our kids, man. It set our kids back so many years, these mandates. It set small businesses back so many years. It destroyed small businesses, man. It destroyed them. It destroyed families. It destroyed our community. And it destroyed our country. And nobody in here gives a damn about that. They're just doing their job.
Mr. Strickland, you stop.
I need to stop what? This is my restaurant, man.
Yeah, it is.
I need to stop what?
Right now. You're not coming past you. Okay?
What is this line right here?
Okay, this is where they're doing their
What is this line right here, though?
Okay, they're executing their
Why is it this line that I can't go past?
You're using this as a platform, but it's going to stop.
It ain't a platform. It's not a platform. I'm using this to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else ever
You
again.
made video from a distance, but you're not going past this.
Why not pass this line? What is it? What is this arbitrary line that you just made up? Why can't I pass this? Because you said so? You know what you sound like? You sound like the government. You sound like the government that I'm fighting against because I said so. What am I obstructing? What am I obstructing? I'm standing still. I'm talking. I have every right to talk. It's called the First Amendment. It's called the First Amendment. You gonna take that away from me as well?
Mr. Strickland, man.
Huh? He just said he's gonna arrest me. I want to know for what? On what grounds? On what grounds are you gonna arrest me? You don't know. On what grounds? What am I obstructing? What am I obstructing? You just said you're gonna arrest me for obstruction. What am I obstructing? Can you answer my question?
I wanted to let all of you who have not heard about my story before know how we've gotten to this point. and I'll put it in a nutshell for you. So I fought back against COVID mandates at my restaurant because I realized early on that these COVID mandates were more about control than they were our health and safety. And that's just by using common sense. I've never been a really big political guy myself. I don't trust politicians from either side of the aisle. I go off of common sense. So that's all I was doing. I said, these don't make any sense. And you're stripping my guests and my employees and myself of our constitutional rights. And I'm not going to be a part of that. I spent a lot of my adult life overseas fighting against dictatorships. And the last thing that I was going to do was come home to my country and allow a dictatorship to rule right here. So I did the only thing I knew how to do, which was fight back and not comply. So for that reason, the former governor of Virginia, Governor Northam, he sued me. He took me to court and tried to shut my business down. Now, in the state of Virginia, if you lose your health department license, you automatically lose your ABC license, your license to sell liquor, because that is attached to your health department license. So once they suspended my health department, I did the only thing I know how to do, fight back by not complying. So I continued to sell alcohol. And we appealed that decision, and it sent it to the circuit court here in Virginia. And we went before the circuit court judge, and he sided with the state. He said, it doesn't matter if the reason they took your license was unconstitutional or unlawful. I'm not here to hear that. The fact is that they took it, and you didn't comply. So I'm going to uphold the suspension. And they did. And that was just a few weeks ago that we got that ruling back from the court. And I did the only thing I know how to do, fight back by not complying. And that's when, fast forward to last Friday, the ABC agents and the Virginia State Police raided my restaurant and took everything from me. And that's how we got to where we're at. So basically, in a nutshell, I am still fighting COVID mandates. I am still having my livelihood stripped away from me because of COVID mandates. COVID mandates that have been found to not only make a difference, but be detrimental to the community. And they're still enforcing them. They're still enforcing them while we have a Republican conservative administration here in Virginia. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'd be lying if I told you it was easy. It's not easy. I mean, I'm going into my third Christmas now, not knowing what's in store for me in the future. You know, I've had my livelihood stripped away from me. I own a restaurant, and as you guys know, food costs are sky high. How restaurants are surviving right now is by alcohol sales, and that's been taken away from me. I've got 4 kids. I'm going into the holiday season not knowing what my future is, and it's all because I have a tyrannical government over top of me. What they're trying to do is beat me into submission and make me kneel in that corner and kiss their ring and give up, but I'm not going to. I don't care how much it costs me. I don't care how much time it takes. I will continue to fight. And I promise you, if you fight with me, we will win. We'll eventually come out on top, and we will save Virginia. And in turn, we will save the United States of America. But please stop complying with these unconstitutional and illegal mandates. Only until then is when things will change, and you and me will come out victorious.
Just hours, this story struck a chord in conservative circles. Spotsylvania delegate Philip Scott voiced plans to introduce legislation to stop similar scenarios in the future. Chesterfield Senator Amanda Chase added the case should be dismissed. State Senate candidate Lance Allen even drove 2 hours from Winchester Friday to support Gourmeltz.
It sounds crazy until the police are at your door shutting down your business.
Strickland said he's hopeful the governor will get involved.
I talked to Governor Youngkin multiple times, and I know what he stands for.
But WSA 9 has yet to hear back from his office. Either way, we asked Strickland what he has to say to people who criticize him for breaking the law and Virginia leaders' directives. His response?
The COVID mandates violated multiple articles in the Constitution, And if they disagree with me, that's fine.
John Henry, WUSA.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things going on here. In full disclosure, Mr. Strickland is running to be a state senator in Virginia, and people are accusing him of using this as a way to try to bolster his political campaign. However, I mean, that doesn't discount the fact that this guy is clearly, in my opinion, having his license taken away for refusing to comply with mandates that made no sense in the first place. definitely probably unconstitutional. And it doesn't make sense that he was not just given back his license after the whole thing was over, okay? Because the only reason he got it taken away is because of the mandates, right? Basically, he didn't want to follow the government's orders. And after the orders were lifted, you would think that, again, they would be like, okay, well, here you go, right? Here's your license back. Don't worry about it, right? My bad, okay? Because he shouldn't have got it taken away in the first place because the order should have never been there in the first place. Right. But again, this is the struggle of small business owners. OK, this is who the Democrats went out of their way to hurt during the pandemic while also helping big corporate America. Right. Guys like him are the guys that are the backbone of this country in regards to providing jobs, in regards to being positive influences in their communities. I mean, again, this is the quintessential American entrepreneur, small business owner. Again, getting screwed over by the government, right? Again, this is a story that so many small business owners go through, okay? And it's really a shame that, you know, this is the type of country where we live in where big corporate America, they get everything they want, right? And the politicians just, you know, bend the knee to them while at the same time screwing over the little guy who's simply just trying to make a decent living for his family, right? By serving his community. You guys remember in the middle of the pandemic, when they were shutting down all the small businesses and they told big businesses like, you know, Walmart and Target, they can stay open, right? You guys don't have any restrictions, okay? But small businesses, you guys got to shut down. The game is rigged, man. It really is. Again, it's a shame. But what's even worse than this is that you have Republicans like Glenn Youngkin and Attorney General Jason Mayorkas in Virginia that don't seem to actually give a damn, right? They're not doing anything about it. Again, they campaigned on being, you know, against the lockdowns and stuff like that. People like Mr. Strickland actually helped them get elected. I mean, he said he was a big supporter of Glenn Youngkin and Jason Mayorkas. He also had Youngkin at his restaurant to rally for another Republican that was running in that district, right? So he knows Glenn Youngkin. He's met Glenn Youngkin. He says that Glenn Youngkin and his administration promised to deal with his situation and correct the problem. However, it seems like they're silent, right? When it comes time to actually execute on your promises, you're silent. You're leaving a little guy behind. Oh, I got elected. I got my seat. I got my power. Now I'm not going to care about the guys that helped me get into power. It's kind of crazy how that works. Again, you can be pissed off at the Democrats for enacting their mandates, okay? And for the government, you know, executing on these unconstitutional mandates, you can be mad at the government. But you got to be even madder at the fact that the people who now run the government, who took over the government, aren't stopping this, right? They aren't stepping in and fulfilling their promises or their alleged promises to help this guy and his business survive, right? To stop his business from being harassed by law enforcement because of him violating COVID mandates that should have never been there in the first place. Mandates that, again, Republicans, you know, Glenn Youngkin and Jason Mayorkas claim that they disagree with. It's kind of crazy how that works. But again, this is typical politicians, right? Help them get elected into office, and now as soon as it comes time to execute on those promises, all of a sudden, well, you know, nowhere to be found. But when it comes to big corporate America, though, when they come calling, right, saying, hey, look, you made us some promises, they make sure they execute on those things. But when it comes to the small business owner, the little guy, nah, we're not going to interfere. We're just going to let your business get robbed, right, by the state. Okay, that's what we're going to do. But hey, vote for us, though, because, you know, Democrats bad. Again, Glenn Youngkin, this is the same guy who did nothing, who stood by while the Roe v. Wade rioters tried to intimidate Supreme Court justices at their homes in Virginia. He didn't do anything about it. He just stood by and just let it happen. Again, it's absolutely shameful, man. It really is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.